How's it going, everyone? Landon with LMR.com. Welcome to my overview and install on the 4-lug front brake upgrade kit from industry leader SVE, designed for the 1987 to 1993 Fox bodies. SVE's 4-lug front brake upgrade kit is going to appeal to the Fox Mustang owner out there looking to improve their braking performance without spending a ton of money. This particular kit currently includes SVE calipers, drilled and slotted rotors, brake pads, stainless steel brake hoses, and of course new hardware to bolt all these goodies to your Mustang. The SVE caliper features a larger 73mm piston versus the anemic 60mm piston found in factory-equipped calipers. Now, because of the larger piston, a stronger clamping force is achieved, resulting in quicker stopping distances. The brake rotors are a standard issue 11-inch rotor that feature a drilled and slotted design for better heat dissipation and of course a better pad body. Also in the kit will be stainless steel brake hoses for both the driver and passenger side and the center upper axle. To bolt all these goodies to the car, SVE includes wheel bearings, seals, grease caps, rotor to spindle hardware, and front brake caliper sleeves. The SVE sleeves eliminate the rubber bushings, which will last longer and reduce caliper movement when braking. It can fit 1979 to 1993 4-cylinder and 1979 to 1986 5-liter cars if you use 87 to 93 spindles. Also note that the caliper pistons may need to be compressed before installation, and of course I would personally recommend performing a complete brake fluid flush when installing this kit.
To begin the install, support the car with jack stands or a lift. Remove both front wheels. Position a drain pan underneath the control arm to catch the brake fluid. Loosen and remove the factory banjo bolt with a 10mm flare nut wrench. Then loosen and remove the 2 caliper retaining bolts with an 11/16 socket. Remove the caliper from the rotor and get it out of the way. Spin the rotor and tap the side of the grease cap with a hammer to knock it loose. Then use a small flathead or chisel to pry it out of the rotor. Straighten out the cotter pin with a pair of needle nose pliers and remove it from the spindle. Remove the castle nut. Loosen and remove the spindle retaining nut. Now you can remove the rotor from the spindle. Take this time to thoroughly clean the spindle and wipe away the old grease. We took the time to clean the backing plate and the surrounding area as well. To pack each new bearing, place a liberal amount of bearing grease into the palm of your hand. Work the grease into the cage of the bearing until it comes out the other end. Ensure that each roller is completely covered in grease. Go ahead and do this to all of the provided bearings. On the back side of the rotor, apply a decent amount of grease to the pre-installed bearing race. Install the inner bearing and then wipe away any grease from the outer surface. Align the seal and evenly tap it into place. Lightly lubricate the inner portion of the seal with grease. Flip the rotor to the other side and apply grease to the outer bearing race. Install the inner bearing into the rotor. Install the correct side rotor over the spindle. The rotors are marked with an L for driver's side and an R for the passenger side. Slide the washer over the spindle and then thread on the nut. Tighten the nut until it stops and then back off one flat. Install the castle nut and then reinstall the cotter pin. Use a pair of needle nose pliers to roll the end of the cotter pin around the castle nut. Position the grease cap and knock it into place with a dead blow. Thoroughly clean the front and back side of the rotor with brake clean to strip any debris or machine oils. Before installing the new stainless brake hoses, verify that you have the correct hose. Make sure the shoulder on the hose block aligns with the groove in the caliper. You'll know right away if you have the wrong hose because it will be pointing down instead of up. With the hose now verified, slide a crush washer over the provided banjo bolt. Pass it through the brake hose block and then slide on another washer. Finger tighten the banjo bolt into the caliper. Remove both slide pins from the caliper. Pull each rubber boot through the hole to remove them from the caliper. Remove the outward pad from the caliper. Apply anti-seize to the provided sleeve. Place a small block of wood underneath the hole. Using an appropriate width socket and extension, strike the head of the spacer to fully seat it into the caliper. Do this for the other side of the caliper. Apply anti-seize to the caliper slide pins. Also take this time to apply anti-seize to the front and rear of the inner brake pad. These points are going to make contact with the spindle. Install the slide pins and make sure the shoulders are through the openings in the outward brake pad. Fully tighten the caliper slide pins. Loosen the hard line to brake hose connection with a 7/16 flare nut wrench. Pry off the rubber brake hose retaining clip and then remove the hose from the car. Position the correct stainless hose into the bracket and finger tighten the fitting. Fully seat the brake hose against the bracket and then reinstall the retaining clip. Use a flare nut wrench to fully tighten the fitting into the new hose. At this time, you can go ahead and fully tighten the banjo bolt. Go ahead and repeat these steps for the other side. Now move to the rear of the car and position the drain pan underneath the rear end. Loosen each axle hardline from the upper axle hose with a 7/16 flare nut wrench. Loosen and remove the center upper axle hose hold-down nut with a 9/16 deep socket. Loosen and remove the center upper axle hose banjo bolt with a 1/2-inch socket. If you can, plug the hardline to minimize fluid runout. Now you can fully remove the axle hardlines from the block and then remove the factory upper axle hose from the car. Remove the factory banjo bolt from the factory hose. Take this time to thoroughly clean the area. Position the stud on the new bracket into the rear end housing. Thread on the provided nut, but do not tighten. Make sure the axle hard lines are even with the crossover block, and then fully tighten. Slide on a new crush washer over the factory banjo bolt. Install the banjo bolt into the brake hose block, and then slide on another crush washer. Remove the plug from the upper hose, and then thread the banjo bolt in by hand. Fully tighten the banjo bolt, and then fully tighten the bracket retaining nut. Remove the rear wheels so you can bleed the entire system. Open up the master cylinder and verify that there is enough fluid in the reservoir. If not, go ahead and fill the reservoir to the max line with fresh brake fluid. Starting at the rear, on the passenger side, position a 7/16 wrench over the rear bleeder and follow that with a clear piece of hose. Place the hose inside of a bottle or special fluid cup. Have a friend pump the brakes 2 to 3 times and then hold. Open the bleeder for a few seconds and then close it. Repeat this until fluid begins to flow. Move to the driver's side rear and repeat these steps. Check the master cylinder fluid level and add additional fluid as needed. Be sure not to let the reservoir run empty. Then you'll move to the passenger side front and use a 3/8 wrench on the bleeder screw. Finally, bleed the driver's side front caliper, then check the reservoir level. Top it off with fluid and run around each side in the same order one more time to ensure a proper flush. Reinstall the wheels and then get the car on the ground. Be sure to drive responsibly for a few miles so that the new pads can bed or burnish into the new rotors. After that, you're all finished.
Overall here, guys, this is a great budget-friendly kit for the Fox Mustang owner out there wanting to keep their current 4-lug setup, but achieve better braking performance without breaking the bank. To see more how-to and review videos covering industry-leading products, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video and don't forget to turn on notifications. While you're at it, go ahead and check out our other videos and don't forget to shop LMR.com for all things 1979 to present Mustang and SVT lighting.